Thank you for coming to this presentation. And Dr. Cho already made a really good introduction about AI and also digital health in psychiatry. And what I want to just zoom into a small talk about how we use Chatgpt and also other language models in psychiatry research. And I wonder, any of you not using Chatgpt? Because I know that most people are going to use it. No? Okay, that means that I do not need to do any explanation of Chatgpt or any other big large language models here. So, yeah. And yeah, I don't have any conflict of interest to disclose for this introduction. So we all know that the current ongoing challenge for psychiatry is not only that we don't have enough treatment or effective enough to help us to manage our patient, but also we are facing a rapid increasing need from the patient in many places, and psychiatrists are not enough. Even for Canada is well-developed country with a significant amount of money channeled into psychiatry training and psychiatry service, we still cannot provide the service that our patients want. And in many places and towns and small cities, we don't have psychiatrists. So that's leaving us a big unmet need. And we need to look at innovative way to see how we can solve those problems. Not even just talking about treatment, but also even just think about, can we afford to let every patient to be seen by psychiatrists when they need? Okay. Yeah, so facing those challenges, the accessibility is not the only challenge, but also that's in a vast country like Canada, probably Australia, and even like United States, the land size is massive. And then, but the population distribution is so significantly uneven. In major cities, you can and will get services, but in remote areas, it's impossible. That's leading to very big inequity and for patients to be taken care of, and the high cost. Since psychiatrists are expensive, and psychiatrists charge a lot of money, so not everybody will be able to and can afford it, particularly when patient requires psychotherapy. And also, even we all trained through the resident training and then being a very experienced psychiatrist, are we actually able to make a diagnosis all consistently with our colleagues? Which is not. And that because psychiatry is so subjective. Even we have DSM-5 diagnosis, all of that, and that still leave a very big inconsistency for that. So all of that gave us a challenge, but also opportunity to see how we can use AI. Yeah, my topic, I'll just skip this. So my topic was slightly bigger than what I want to do, but I just want to zoom in a little bit. So because of this, and we need to really look at what is, when we use AI, do a prediction, do computation in psychiatry, what are we lacking of? It's not because we don't have money to run those fancy devices, and the bottleneck is actually short of data, particularly the short of data for narrative data, like say interview data and the patient's record, all of that. And many of them really limited the large data mining that the AI is essential. So, but accessing those data, collecting those data is so expensive and time consuming. And also often that we neglect the populations and often not being included. For example, a lot of research gonna eliminate people who's sexually minority, or they eliminate people like women often not being included, and women with pregnancy often not included. So that's leaving us to not really serve those population better. So to do that, we're thinking, what should we do? How can we use the most recent technology, the large language model? you all know that Chatgpt is probably on every newsletters about it. So it's a natural language it's understanding the AI model. So it can generate, it's a generative AI, it can generate content based on your interaction with it. So it's being used in quite many places like chat box, question answering agent. When you call some like airlines, probably you're just not talking to a real person. You're pretty much talking to a chat box, which is driven or being equipped by large language model. So think about that. We try to look at, okay, how this one can be used to help us to create data, to help to train the AI to be a better physician. Because I'm a psychiatry resident training director, I always think about that, like the current AI is a very talented student, but we need to train them to be a qualified physician. So the first thing for anybody to get into med school is to learn the knowledge, right? So AI learn knowledge differently. They learn by consuming large amount of data. So now the step one we want to do is how we can use it to use large language model to train the actual AI intelligence. So what we want to do here is the first project we had is called CALIM, Clinical Data Augmentation for Large Language Model. We published this paper last year. We try to use a large language model like Chatgpt to create a synthetic clinical interview data set and to enhance the AI-aided PTSD diagnosis. If you imagine that, is a lot of Dr. Chou's work is to see, can we create an AI doctor? But here, we try to create an AI patient to train the AI. So all we call digital twins and all AI patients, that's kind of what I'm trying to wrap around this idea. So this is the interview questions we normally will use and to collect the information. And this is actually has been used to collect over 200 real-world patients and data, and by doing the interviews, and just like what we do in the clinical on daily basis. So that create, and also this is a PTSD question that we normally would do. So the step one, we have to create a benchmark and in the real world. So we used some data we collected by ourselves, and also we use a public available data from the United States, and including about 250 people's data. So this is what normally that we'll do. We'll go through very complicated and ASCO board, and then to look at how we can answer the questions, satisfy it, and then get things done, and then start to recruit people. And many of them, the participant will not be qualified. Then it takes about, I don't know, it's 3 years, 4 years. In Canada, everything's so slow, and even longer than that. So that is really a big bottle. And then what we want to do here is to look at this. So first of all, and we already have a real world data. Now we want to enhance it by using Chatgpt. What we do is we provide interview questionnaires to Chatgpt, and then we use a specialized API, which is a parameter, and to ask Chatgpt to play as a mock patient. So those patients, every single patient are different based on their demographic information, based on the story that they randomly created behind. And based on those information, and the mock patient will answer the interview questions in a very personal way. So by doing this, the prompt engine that we created and is based on called knowledge graph. That means that we use AI first to summarize and to look at the cues and in all the literatures about PTSD, and then start to using that to create different profiles for the patient. So after that, and the patient, the mock patient will give us this kind of synthetic clinical interview data. So then many of the interview data were randomly being verified by psychiatrists, and to make sure that there's not absurd, we call the delusions, and we try to minimize the called AI delusions from there. So after that, and then we combined with this data. The first two data are the real world data from real patient, and third data is the synthetic patient data we created. And then after that, we blend together and randomly assign them into a different like assignment, and the use called DistillBird is a deep learning, is a natural language deep learning approach, and to look at how can we create or distinguish people, all the case with PTSD or without PTSD. So yeah, and this is the patient generation, a generation that's based on those parameters, and then the Chatgpt will play as a role player. Okay, so something like that, I think it's very hard to read. I think we can skip that. So there's a different level of freedom that each of the cohort will play, and will help to create a diversity, and also adhered to the real world data. And so after this kind of like, I'll skip those like a technique part and get into this word. So first of all, when we blend those data together, and we notice that after we enhance the data and by Chatgpt, and we actually significantly increased the accuracy. If you can see here, and if only use the real world data in the first part, the first one, and the confusion matrix is like 50% true, positive, negative, and it's actually the true negative. And but when we actually adding the data of the trained synthetic data, it enhanced the performance by significantly. If you can see what's the difference between the four groups, and also this under the curve, you can see this one, and without the training, and the curve is much lower compared to the training, and the more under this curve, the more accuracy that the diagnosis will give. So overall, we trying to create a new way to collect data. It's ethic-free, the privacy-free, extremely low cost, and then potentially even mimic the digital twins to solve any problems related to the ethical dilemmas. And so you can see this is a rough cost comparison. Of course, this way is not like a risk-free. We have so many other things that need to think about it. First is whether the cases we created gonna overgeneralizing or overfitting into the system. That means that all the cases will be more like each other, and in that case, the diversity or the heterogeneity gonna be reduced. And second one is, if AI has any delusions, and they're gonna create the data not inconsistent with the real world. So all of them are still a major challenge that we have, but we do believe that with other technologies on board, and we're getting better and better with this. So that's kind of one sort of idea that's what I'm trying to do. And also I have several other works here, and except this kind of an AI patient, and we also have some AI doctors idea. So one of the work is about to be published is called Mind AI's Mind. Just like Dr. Anu said, it's how do you trust? not only the patient, whether they trust AI or not, and physicians ourselves, we don't trust AI. We don't know what's going on. And AI is more like a black box. And they give you a good, excellent outcome, but they don't tell you what to do. So this work is actually to decode AI's mind line by line and convert them into physician-understood language to make sure that we are in line with what we understand what they do. We're not being fooled by AI. And the third one is called proactive AI conversation, which we're trying to look at. So if we can train AI and speak like a psychiatrist, talk proactively, and able to navigate a really good, efficient, and also empathetic clinical interviews. So that's this research is also about to be presented to one of the top artificial intelligence conferences and in next month. And we really want to know if that can lead into a real-world application, which means that if we have a virtual portal and the patient can use that portal rather than talking to the real psychiatrist to get the first-hand information and then to get a diagnosis like from there. So that's all we're working on, and I hope that's answer some. I would like to use this time to answer any questions and also encourage people to think these directions and using those new technologies. Thank you.